welcome to another Coffee with Kilroy, or what I sometimes call beverage in a book. My beverage, well, if you don't know by now. And the book today is 5 Leagues from the Borderlands, 3rd edition, a solo and co-op adventure wargaming from Modiphius, and it's from the same designer or author or creator as 5 Parsecs from Home, 3rd edition, solo adventure wargaming from Modiphius. And I have previously covered this. So I'll put a link to this in the description of this 5 Leagues. So we got 5 Leagues and 5 Parsecs. This, of course, is sci-fi and space. This is fantasy-based. They share some core mechanisms. This one, however, 5 Leagues, I think goes into a little bit more involved melee combat or up-close combat. But, and of course, they're different settings. So all the things that are, attendant to a sci-fi setting are going to be in here, or a space setting, and the fantasy setting will be in 5 Leagues. Now, what are these games? These are miniature-based games. They're basically a way to play miniatures solo. But really in kind of an RPG fantasy, in this case, fantasy type way. In this case, space and sci-fi kind of way. But it's meant to, be rules for miniatures, but combining those rules in what I kind of consider an RPG or role-playing game setting. Now, I've also reorganized my channel, as I'm apt to do from time to time, and I added a whole section on RPG games, and I'm going to put this in that section, even though this is, this will go in miniatures as well. But I'm also going to put it in the RPG section because it does have the feel of an RPG. You're going to be creating characters or avatars or groups of characters and going on adventures. I mean, it says adventure wargaming right there, so that to me that's synonymous with RPG. But I have several breakouts in that playlist of sci-fi and space, fantasy, and spies, military. Of course, I have quite a few military RPGs because this, at its heart, is a war game channel. Anyway, enough of all that. Let me get some coffee, and I hope you join me as well and take a look at this 5 Leagues from the Borderland. Now, I'm also doing this on Sci-Fi Fantasy Saturday because this qualifies for the fantasy aspect of the of that title. So you've got your table of contents here, which have your characters, character creation. As you can see here, very much an RPG type game here. You're going to have different classes or different character types, ability scores, skills. You have your origin, generating heroes, and heroes I think is what you play. I think you play like a war band, so you're basically playing a group of miniatures or a group of characters, but you're going to have a hero, I believe, is kind of the lead in this. And it says the avatar and campaign. I think the avatar is kind of who you're playing, is who you're trying to identify with, I guess, in the game. The game rules, as you can see, are really focused a lot on combat, the battle round, movement, enemy movement, terrain, non-combat actions, combat, spell casting, running away. Got to have the running away from the Monty Python's Holy Grail. Proficiency tests, will points, starter scenario, story points, unusual situations, and equipment. Now, it says solo co-op, or you could, have somebody be a game master if you wanted to. This is, not, doesn't exclude that. I mean, it's made to be played solo and co-op, but a game master can always, a good game master is worth their weight in gold. They can always add something to this. Here's the campaigns, here's preparation, here's adventures, encounters, the enemy, And there's a lot of enemy tables. These are basically going to be who you're fighting against and how they work. Because again, this is made for solo and co-op, so it's made for them to be kind of an AI. Resolution and appendices. You got part 1 setting out. And here, this talks about what's different in the 3rd edition, sister games. What does the campaign look like? And it says right here that, secondly, the release of 5 parsecs from homes through Modiphius exposed us to a whole new wave of fans. So that's one reason they kind of, I guess, they re-upped this or refreshed this. So Modiphius is, really kind of known for their RPG kind of content. That they're really picking up steam on that aspect. Here's what you need to play. And it says you need miniatures, but also you can also use tokens or counters or whatever you might have. I mean, I've got a ton of old D&D miniatures. Back when D&D was the D&D miniatures game was a game. It was actually a miniatures game, but so those were I think fine in here. The scale I think they say is. They play test this with 15 millimeter and 28 millimeter, but I mean, again, anything. I think you can use anything with this. It's not going to be that hard to scale it if needed. It talks about the world of 5 leagues, surviving 5 leagues. Talking about stories. You're the star of the story. Again, this is very much an RPG game in my opinion. Here's character creation, and with that, here's character creation. All your different types of characters, humans, duskling, preens, which are kind of bird-like creatures. So you've got generating your hero. Here's some of the tables. Frontier background, mystic background, noble background, outsider background, townfolk, zealot. So you got a lot of good old-fashioned RPG stuff here. Here's skills. So, I mean, this to me looks a lot like a player handbook here, of rolling up characters. Then you get the game rules, and again, they're really focusing on the battle because this is really a combat game. This is more of a miniature skirmish game with overlaid RPG elements. So you got all the rules there. So, I mean, if you're not into the RPG aspect, you just want a miniatures combat rule for small groups, for skirmishers, or skirmishes, doing skirmishes in a fantasy setting, then these rules very well might be, there's all your spell list there. These rules might be, might be something you might want to look at. There's a starter scenario and talking about the things that go along with that, like story points, unusual situations. Then you get into your equipment. Again, this is all the kind of stuff you would expect in a role-playing supplement. Get the campaign and kind of start out, what's the context or what's the setting you're going to get into. Quite a bit in here, and it's nicely done. I think it's clear. There's charts interspersed in here. The graphics are good. I've done a little bit with 5 parsecs, and I think it's a good overlay into an RPG setting, and so I think this one actually has as much, if not more, detail into that. So here's the adventures. Let's get to the enemies here. So there's quests. As you can see, it's all there's divine on being an event, kind of focused on being an adventure game. Here's the encounters, and these are your encounter tables. We've seen these before. I've actually taken the old encounter tables out of the Dungeon Master's Guide, and when I was at Mere Ute, and would just roll on those and do solo adventures just to level up, just on what I could find on the random encounter tables. All right, here's some of the enemy tables here. These are encounters still. These are some enemies. So you've got Grim Knight, you got a speed, combat skill, damage, toughness, armor, any kind of special ability. It's got trait of parry. So these are some of your encounter tables, scenario types. And this is kind of a setup. So you can see it's kind of, again, getting back to its roots, which is more of a miniatures skirmish game with the different setups there. A lot in the encounter. Oh, here's the enemy table. So here's kind of your monster manual here. It's got a desperate mob, and you're going to have all this number, speed, combat damage, toughness, armor, ranged, any kind of special rules, and there's a break point on this one. And these look like bands of encounters or enemies. So, you know, a group of miniatures you'd probably use for these. Here's the 9 horde enemy table. So quite a bit to choose from. Here's Ice Heart Court. So it'll probably be in a frozen situation. Duskling Warband. And again, you can be a Duskling. That's one of the character choices. Oldest Kin. Curse of War enemy table. It's an interesting one here. This is more battle, I guess, suited or battle focused. Faceless Kingdom. Here we go. There's roadside encounters. Got to have those. Roads are not safe. Lurking foes. Hate those. Creatures most vile. Ooh, we got aberrations. Got some nasty ones there. There's resolution. Experience points. Who said this wasn't a role-playing game? Loot. Yeah, so just kind of giving you a quick page through on here so you get your money's worth. Yeah, my channel is free, so here's enemy plans. So you always get your money's worth. Next campaign, and you got appendices. There we go, appendices, and there's index. Quite a big index there, and then you get some tables here. Here's a campaign tracking sheet. Warband roster, because again, it's a warband. You're playing a group of miniatures here, with you being kind of the lead. And then some advertisements for Modiphius. And then a quick reference on the back page. That's kind of nice. Back 2 pages. So there you have it. 5 Leagues from the Borderlands 3rd edition. Sorry there. Is a solo adventure game where you take the role of a warband of heroes and adventurers and explore a grim world full of monsters, enemies, creeping malice, and exciting quests. The whole campaign is generated procedurally, with each battle created from over 100 different enemy types, 17 unique foes, and 6 scenario types that can play out in a wide number of ways. As you play, you will explore the game world, discover new locations, and take on quests and jobs. Your warband will gain in experience and power and find wondrous loot or die gruesomely in brutal combat. A game is playable with any miniatures you own and can be played on a 2x2 foot or 3x3 foot gaming table, making it ideal for players who are just getting started in fantasy gaming or for those this is their first miniatures game. All you need is 6 figures for your heroes and a handful of suitable enemies to fight. There you go. So that is 5 Leagues from the Borderlands. And if you're for fantasy, and if you're interested in space or sci-fi, then 5 Parsecs from Home might be of your liking. That's what I have for you today on Coffee with Kilroy Sci-Fi Fantasy Saturday Edition. Love to know your thoughts on either one of these, but especially this one, since this is what I'm covering today. Drop them down below. Let me know what is on your mind. Just keep it civil and take care. Thanks for watching.